Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'll call to order the September 8th meeting of the Belmont Tourism Development Authority. If you would review the agenda and let me know if any additions or adjustments need to be made to that agenda. No. All right, we'll consider the agenda set. You have been provided with the minutes from the last meeting, the August 11th meeting, if you would like to take a minute to review those. All right, I'll make a motion to approve. Ryan makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ted has a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Then you also have the financial report, which includes expenditures, and you didn't get any more on the revenues or an explanation. We just have not received those revenues yet. Okay. Okay. So I don't believe that there should be any surprises with any of the expenses. But if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. Have any idea, Susan, how we're doing?
I think it's staying consistent to what we've been, last month reported on. I think everything's very consistent. A little nervous, just
With the variant?
We've had a couple. The homecoming at Belmont Abbey's been canceled. The Water Keepers Convention we were supposed to have should be in house right now. They canceled. So a couple little things that were on the books have canceled. We have a lot of other stuff. We have plenty of weddings have not canceled. Our large companies have not canceled out. So, but a few things have that just makes you a little nervous. Yeah. But you hope that that's not the new trend that's coming. So, but I would say it's very consistent to what it's been.
Good.
Thank goodness.
All right. We'll accept the financial report as information then. Number 2 under business items, the marketing position. So I'll defer to the councilman to kind of review.
Okay, well, looks like we're down a few people. I hope we'd have a more fully attended, but yeah, there has been some discussions by myself, by some other folks, including the city manager, about the possibility of looking into a full-time marketing position with the city of Belmont. A dedicated position that could do 40 hours for marketing, advertising, promoting Belmont. What would be a bonus for that position is if you could also find someone who has some grant writing background. I can't remember the exact number of hours that are dedicated to us right now, but it's not really high. And when I look at that, I say, okay, is that the best use of these dollars, or would it be better to reroute those dollars possibly to a full-time person whose sole job is to promote Belmont locally, state level, however, and get 40 hours a week out of that position?
Okay, we currently have a contract with a wireless agency through December. And Malia, maybe you can remind me, I think we're paying the wireless agency $18,000 through. $3,000 a month. Right.
And that our hourly rate for nonprofit, and we have gone up 11 years to be $155. It's $175 an hour. So it's a little over 14 hours a month.
Okay, what I would like to add at this point is it's not a reflection on you. I think you guys do great work, but I mean, from my position as a councilman and maybe somewhat as a member of this board, is, do we need to consider, is that enough hours for that amount of money? Someone who could do this as a full-time position. And if so, where would they fall under? You know, who within the city structure? So, I mean, that's just conceptually what has been batted around somewhat. And we talked about it at a council meeting, and it was said to bring it to this board and discuss it and try to come up with some sort of consensus or direction.
Is there any direction from like Adrian, Jamie, or anything like that? Or does staff have any input?
Particularly when it came up with Bill's community development position. And we talked about the fact that it actually would be very separate. They're two very separate things. Main Street is very focused on Main Street. And so we wanted a marketing position that would be more widely focused, that can, you know, do things with the garden. We've got the rec center coming up. We've got the trolley coming. And so we wanted a position that was going to be a broader view than just the Main Street. So the conversation that we had with that person would potentially report to me, and that we would partner, because I do a lot of the marketing stuff for the city already. And then working with Main Street staff, working with the tourist board, and just really more focusing on the promotion of Belmont. We're creating a lot of content anyway. It just, we felt like at this point, because of the hours, it's something that we really don't need in-house.
So I mean, what would the structure look like? So they would report up to you. Would this board be responsible for anything other than contracting hours for the person, or how does that work? I mean, we're not going to have authority to. I mean, how's that work?
It just depends on what you guys want to do. You know, if you have a gym, you get people to come to you to ask for money and things like that. Obviously, they would attend these meetings. We would work with the board to focus on where we want them, you know, the marketing dollars to go, the focus to be. So they would work directly with this board in order to be a partner. And then it also would work with gas and county board as well.
You think the city wants to hire another person?
Well, I mean, we're spending funds right now. I think that financially, Jamie, what would that look like? I mean, would the position be fully funded by this board? Are we looking at half and half?
Personally, it could be fully funded.
At $36,000 a year? That includes benefits? Who are you going to get to work for $36,000 a year minus?
Not what the contract was prior to.
That's what it is now.
But that was not what the contract was prior to. So when you were looking at this, you were looking at.
What was it then? Prior to COVID, do you remember, Malia?
Yeah, this year's 3,000, last year's 25, but the year before that was 44.
So $48,000 or thereabouts.
Jim, if
Well, I think also some of the discussion of the city needed to subsidize it to some extent, and then that's something that was also batted around, because I think they realized the person that you're gonna need with the skill set that you're gonna need probably will command more than that 40,000. And I think it would be a benefited position, city benefits.
So, but one thing that's been added to this discussion now is grant writing, and now you've elevated that position even more. So,
Well, there's a possibility. I don't think grant writing is going to make or break the person who comes. I mean, if they have those skills, I mean, the way I view it, it's not a requirement, but it would certainly be a plus. Because I think it would be better if we had someone with grant writing skills as a focal point, rather than having department heads or whoever who may not have. It is a skill set to write grants, but there is some success with department heads writing grants. So I mean, it's not a make or break issue as far as I go. It's part of the criteria.
Your comment, question, Ted?
Jim, it just seems to me that if we're talking about hiring a full-time person potentially to do marketing for the city, if we find somebody who's got a third of the experience and the professionalism and the skill of the library agency, we're talking about a six-figure salary. It's not a $36,000 job plus benefits to do the kind of work that the library agency does. Let me finish my comment. I think we're blessed to have a nationally known marketing company in downtown Belmont, owner of 2 buildings, with a corporate headquarters here, and people spread out across the country who have contacts with travel writers and bloggers all over the country, doing the work that they're doing for the city and doing a lot of pro bono work in addition. I think you cannot replace that with a part-time or a $36,000 a year full-time person working in a marketing role. I mean, we don't pay the library agency to post things on Facebook. We pay them because of the people they know, the experience they've had, the professionalism, knowing where to post it, what to post, when to post it, how to measure it, all of those things. And you don't get that for $36,000 a year in a part-time position or a full-time position. That's my 2 cents worth. I'm sorry, Jamie, I didn't mean.
I think the first thing we want to dispel is that it's not going to be a $36,000 position. I think we all came to that realization. So, I mean, that number is not accurate. We don't know what the number will be for that position, but it's going to be considerably more than $36,000 a year. I mean, talking to Adrian, I was asked to bring this forward to this board for consideration or for their feedback on it. I mean, to me, I understand what Ted's saying, but I mean, I also have, the two-track thought process, some align with what you just said, but it also says, we can't afford 40 hours a week out of them. We're getting 16 or 17 hours a month right now, which equates to what, 4.5 hours a week, I guess, somewhere around that. So when I look at that, I said, okay, I mean, for the dollar amount, are we providing the best service? Are we getting what we need? Well, not what we need, but I mean, does it make more sense to bring somebody and get a full 40 hours? I mean, I understand what you're saying about the experience, but I mean, if we're talking a salary, and I would estimate, we would have to look at pre-COVID numbers as far as this board funding the position, and then whatever ground needs to be made up would be made up by the city, and then you've got to offer the benefit package on that. I mean, I'm not an ad person, and I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know. That would be up to Jamie and them to come back with a recommendation for salary, because they've got to look at the position and the qualifications and say, okay, what does that command? So, I mean, there are some variables here that aren't known yet.
Before I get more comments from the board, let me also lay down the law. So it is incumbent upon this board that the dollars that we spend, the dollars that come from the occupancy tax, are spent to promote travel and tourism. I think it says that 2/3 should be used for promotional travel and tourism. We can use up to 1/3 of those funds to do other tourism-related activities. So if we wanted to build a conference center, we could use 1/3 of the funds to do that. But 2/3 of it is intended to be spent on promotion of travel and tourism. Now, what we need to consider is what else this position might do. I think it clouds the situation considerably if this board doesn't have any authority. So we need to consider what this board's authority over this new role is. The other consideration is that this board is an independent authority. We've got representatives of the city council to assure that we are aligned with the direction of the city in general. But we are not compelled by anybody's recommendation. We have to use our appointment to assure that we're spending the money properly. Okay, so just wanted to make that clear. And then I'll accept other comments from other board members.
I'm sorry, I'm new. I'm curious, Jamie, what exactly do you do? Just some clarity if they're going to be reporting to you. I'm just trying to understand the.
Graphic design for work for the city, any of the publications or anything that goes out for the other departments comes through the approval. I manipulate a lot of it to make sure that it's professional looking. So I do most of the marketing for the city.
And then the main street and all their stuff is completely under
Phil and Cassidy, yeah.
Cassidy.
Right now at this point, because we don't have a person on staff at the time, so Cassie does a lot of graphic design and other stuff, they're contracting out actually that with Burks, Walford under Burks at this point, for like the Blue Line on Main, they're doing things for Boom Fest, and this is all tourism related, because this is all bringing people in Belmont. So, you know, and that's a lot of what their goals are. And so one of the parts of this conversation is, you know, we need someone that's more focused on this, that would take some of that stuff off of the Main Street board in order to focus on creating the content, pushing out the content, partnering with, you know, Destiny County Tourism on, you know, their reach, this board on their reach, and just having someone that's more facilitator for that, and we need that in-house at this point, because we have so much going on the Main Street side and on the side and stuff, so that eventually it's gonna be too much for the current staff.
And do you see this as something where their day-to-day kind of direction and guidance and, you know, goals come from you, or is this a hire where they would be self-sufficient and essentially this board would give them direction and then they would need to go fulfill that? I'm just kind of curious on that too, because I think that speaks to the level of person and salary. You know, if you need somebody directly reporting to us and that can go do it on their own, that's a whole different discussion than somebody that's,
Right.
you know,
So
just posting.
they would probably take over the liaison that Cassie is doing right now, so they would work directly with the board. And then any initiatives that the board would put forth, they would take on, in addition to promote the different things that we know that's going on in the city, from an operations standpoint. And again, our board is amazing that we're taking on at this point, we're doing the work for. So, that it would be a combination of the two, but ultimately operational, they would report through the chain of command, they report to me, and I report to you. But you guys would definitely have, you know, a large portion of, you know, this is what we're looking at, this is what we want to see, and that would be incorporated.
And then so if there's a third of the budget that could be allocated to this,
So all of our budget needs to be spent on tourism-related activities. 2/3 of it is spent on promotion. A third of it could be spent on, so technically all of this money could be spent on a person or an agency or whoever, as long as they are promoting tourism-related activities. So,
I have a question. The total budget that we pay the Lyerly agency, does that include ad purchases? Does that include like what we pay, our paid ads and all of that too? Or is that separate? Is that
so the 18,000 that we're paying them now is just their fee for doing things for us,
Okay.
their labor. There are additional, the contract is higher because it includes
that
advertising.
Okay. That's what I
Yes.
was making sure. So I mean, just thinking about that too, like if we hire someone, they get a salary, but on top of that, there's still the amount of money that we have to spend on print ads and digital ads and all of that too. So we can't, you know, lump everything that they charge back to us as a salary because it's not all salary.
Correct.
So just thinking about
correct. Not the entire contract is not all salary.
Right.
So what did the numbers look like pre-COVID? Because I can't remember the breakout of what the salary was and what the expenditures were for ad placement and all that. In ballpark numbers, does anybody know? Because I can't recall.
I can't recall either.
Pre-COVID, our professional services fees for our time were $4,400 a month. But I will tell you that we've worked with you since the beginning, for 11 years. And even though right now it says that we spend, a little over 17 hours a month, throughout the history of this, we've always given you, for every dollar you've given us, we've given you $2 to $3 of our hours back. So, while it says 17 a month, we're gonna do, it's gonna be more common around 50. So, because, you're in Belmont, you love Belmont, you go Main Street, and we kind of give this as contribution back to the city that we love. So, you want to put that in figuring of hours and things like that. And, I think that's important, the time it takes.
And then the ad dollars have varied according to things that are going on, what our budget looks like, and those sorts of things. The budget grew fairly steadily right up. The revenue that we had grew pretty steadily right up until COVID.
Jim, with that, do you have any idea? I know we didn't report on the revenue numbers, but being new to the board, what are those revenues? Like, would it even cover this position?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Where are our I know we don't have them here to look at. However, what is the norm? Like, I don't even.
So we were somewhere north of $100,000
Okay.
in terms of revenue, and we expected when Home 2 Suites opened, we'd be at around $150,000.
Okay. But we don't know if that.
We don't know
have
if
them
that's
to report.
reality or not.
I think that's an important piece.
Yeah.
Is we're talking about all these positions and adding ads and everything. We don't even know how much money we have.
Yeah, we approved a budget that was $75,000.
Okay.
For
So this would fit into that 75, or would just totally be a whole different budget?
So I think what we believe is that our revenues are going to be greater than $75,000, and that's just from what you've told us.
True.
So,
Well, what I'm asking is, say this position's 48,000.
yeah.
With that 75,000, because we passed that on the $36,000 marketing for Lyerly, would that cover it? Would 75, even if it's 150, we don't know if it is. We're hoping it is. But with the 75, with the budget we've passed, would it cover the position we're talking about at, say, 48,000?
And then what happens if, there's a fire at the Hampton Inn, or, we lose all the revenues? Does this person get terminated? I mean, we are then, if we hire this person.
And I would hope that would even, that's the ifs. But just on what we know, I think we need those revenue numbers is what I'm saying. I mean, I just think it's hard to pass something that's going to be more expensive than what we're currently passed and committed to spending when we don't know what we have to spend. It's like spending money we don't even know we have because the report is zeroed out. So that's from someone that doesn't know any of the numbers. That's how I'm like, how we looking to spend more money. We don't even know if we have the money.
Well, I think we're relatively confident that we have $75,000. We probably have $100,000 to spend this current fiscal year.
So it would fit into the budget as is.
Well, not based on their other commitments.
No.
Okay.
We owe other organizations annual payments.
We're committed to the trolley for $20,000 a year.
And then the moon,
We've committed to the Moonlight on Main
for 10.
And then we did another $5,000 to the
Move
trolley.
the trolley.
To move, yeah. So
I'm just saying, I'm trying to add it all in my head. I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, I mean, it's a confusing item. There are a lot of potential issues that I see. First of all, turnover. You get a lot more from consistency with having somebody, and then I think there's some issues around how that will be reported to, and then ultimately the cost. I think it'd be a hard reach for this board to fully fund that position. Even if you go back to the $4,400 a month, you add back in 7.5% for taxes and then another $1,000 a month for health insurance, and you're looking at $75,000, $80,000 a year just for what we were spending on that portion. which is fine. I mean, we could be at the point where it makes sense to bring somebody in-house, but I don't see how this board could reasonably do that on its own. So I do think the city, if the city council so wishes, will need to have to open up that position and come up with a salary scale and say how much they want to contribute to it. And then see if this board, if it makes sense to partner there. The sole responsibility of this board is tricky. I think in that situation, my other concern is who has ultimate control of the employee. I think that's what you were kind of getting at. What if we're not happy? What if this board's not happy in a year? Do we just tell the city to fire the person, or how does that work? Or do we stop funding it and just say? Because I would assume we would have the authority to just stop funding it at any point. And then from the city side, then are we stuck then with a whole $80,000 employee on it? And so I think if we could work through some of those issues, I would never overlook an in-house position. That is good. It takes a while for a business. It takes you build up to it, and sometimes that does make the most sense. The reason agencies exist, the reason consulting exists, is for small organizations who can't go out and afford all the expertise and afford that big in-house person. But if we're there, I think we should consider it. But I think there's some unknowns that would need to be resolved and give this board something to vote on as opposed to us putting up the options. I mean, I think it's a legitimate, good idea, but also, there could be some issues that we're not thinking of. It's two different bodies. That's tricky.
That's the, I mean, and it sounds like it's offloading a bunch of existing city work, which is tourism work, right? So that it's already, the thing that really scares me too is, we don't know, we've already committed, like what happens if COVID, whatever version comes back and we don't have the revenue to pay for this person. I wouldn't feel comfortable voting to hire somebody knowing that potentially at any point I could just rip the rug out from under him. You know what I mean? It's different than a governmental funding where the city has kind of projected revenue that's not going to go away.
We could sign a contract with the city. I think we're not responsible for the person. We could lease the employee back. If that's an option.
There could be the potential that we want to use the services of this new person for very specific things. Maybe it makes more sense to do that and we get a lower rate than we're perhaps paying the Lyerly agency to do some more basic activities. One thing that we had talked about earlier, Ted, when you were president of the chamber and you had people coming into the chamber office because they thought it was a tourism office. Now we've got that nice space at City Hall. And so maybe that's a tourist information center. Maybe there are services like that we would like to buy from the city.
Well, that was one of the conversations that we had with, when City Hall is limited, if there's more space there, that myself and this person would be stationed there, and it would be a similar situation with the Main Street program, not having to, like I said, we were spitballing a lot of things, we were having
Yeah.
this conversation, so, but the other thing to think about is, this isn't abnormal, that this is, we're having this conversation. This happens, Gaston County has this, there's tourism.
That's a different thing. That is not a tourism authority. That's a Gaston County office.
Their money goes to tourism, we're keeping tourism.
That is not I'm on that board. It's not a tourism authority.
What is it?
It's a county funded department. The Board of Commissioners makes the decision about how that money's spent. They have an advisory board, and the advisory board has no authority to spend any money.
So let me ask one more thing this way. There's obviously a need for a liaison type role between the city and downtown and visitors. There's obviously a need to increase the hours and volume dedicated to tourism. So this position, I think there's a need for this position, but is there any other solution? Is just hiring a full-time person in a convoluted manner the only solution? Or has any other idea come up to kind of solve this?
Well, we discussed this at council, and, they asked me, I guess, and Ryan to just bring this, so this could be batted around, see if there's any appetite for it, knowing that there was probably a lot of questions that we would not know to ask, that this board might surface within this board, which it has. I don't think there's any desire to make an immediate decision on this. It's just, conceptually, is this something that grabs the board's attention, or they have an appetite for, see a need for? As far as funding goes, splitting the funding of a position, we do that internally in the city. We have multiple positions that draw from water and sewer, general fund, stormwater, I think, because they touch all three. And by statute, because of that, we don't have to pull their entire salary out of general fund, which helps the general fund out a great deal, because legally, because they spend, X amount of hours with their hand in this department, we can pull that salary component out. So, I mean, it's not a crazy idea. It can work. Of course, now that is structurally all within umbrellaed underneath the city. This is umbrellaed underneath the city to a certain extent as well. I mean, they are separate, but they're not also. So, I mean, there's no, I think Adrian, when we're talking about it in council, I mean, they knew there was not going to be any immediate action, but it's something that's been talked about and thought about. And so, maybe it's time to bring it out and see how the board reacts to it. And that's.
And we have other staff members that report to boards, certainly. Maybe not with this authority, but we have a Main Street director that follows the guidance of the Main Street board, but ultimately answers to the city. Your Parks and Rec director follows guidance. So, I mean, I can see a path where this works, but there's some unknowns here, structural needs and financial needs. I think the ask should go back to the city of your idea. What do you think it should look like, as opposed to just throwing this out here at us and having us come up with all this stuff?
Well, I think maybe
I think we
we've
have to
had.
keep in, I'm sorry, Vic.
I was just real quick. I think, other than us going back and forth, maybe we look at scheduling a joint board meeting with city council, Jamie, Adrian there, so we don't have to keep taking information back and forth. Get everybody in the same room together, vet it out,
And have all the numbers that we need to look
have the
at.
numbers. It either flies, it doesn't, or is deferred to post-COVID.
I'm open to that, but for that meeting, the answers have to be there.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be another think tank about all the questions. All the questions should be answered. We should have the budget, the finances, historical information, structures, all that stuff.
And the job description.
So we can make a decision, right? Versus just spending another hour asking questions.
But yeah, I agree. I think the questions are good because now we know what we need at that meeting.
And maybe we can all submit questions, and let everybody submit the questions. Okay.
I think there's a major point that we've not really addressed, which is the vast difference between the mission of this board and the mission of marketing for the city of Belmont. And the DBDA board, completely different focus and responsibility. Our board sole responsibility is to market for people to come to Belmont and spend the night at the Home 2 Suites or at the Hampton Inn. That's why we don't market so much locally for people to come for a Friday Night Live. We market 100 miles away where people are going to be coming to stay at the Hampton Inn and the Home 2 Suites. I think we've got completely different missions, and I think it's easy to lose track of that or not be aware of that. And the other point is, where's the problem? I mean, we've got two of the most successful hotels in Gaston County, maybe the most successful, doing very, very well. Belmont is still the jewel of Gaston County in everybody's eye, and I don't see the problem. I think I think we've done a great job with this endeavor over the past 10 or 12 years, Jim. And I don't see where we need to shake this up at this point, where we're not sure where we are in the pandemic. We know where we've been, we're not sure where we're going. And it seems like a very strange time to me to be questioning either the success that we've had or looking at making vast changes right now.
So technically, numbers definitely disagree, because a lot of what we do internally for events and things like that, we're promoting ourselves. We're contacting places out of Charlotte. Those are all events that, yeah, they're for Belmont residents, but we are going beyond that. And, Moonlight on Main, for instance, is an event that is specifically for people that are outside of Belmont, to come into Belmont, to come into downtown. And that event, we have broadcasted out, in the Charlotte area and around. We work with Gaston County Tourism to do their portion. So actually internally, there are a lot of things that we do on a daily basis where we're promoting for people to come into downtown. So it is a function that we're already doing. It's not something that you guys would be privy to, because it's just on a staff level.
Well, so so should those kinds of things be given to, it seems like duplication of efforts here a little bit. And so I'm not understanding why that's happening. So why would you guys be doing things that really we're paying them to do? So would you not, is there a way to delegate some of that stuff to the Lyerly agency? Should we continue to move forward with them to free up your, because I can understand from I think, Ted's talking from our view, but I understand internally, you guys probably have a lot more on your plate than you need, and that's why you have this desire to bring someone in-house, because there's just a lot of work that you're doing that's probably outside of your what you should be doing. You have other responsibilities. So is it possible to delegate some of that stuff to the Lyerly agency to do, so that we don't have these duplication of efforts? Is that instead of hiring someone, or is it just too much to hand off? Yeah.
It's an hour. It's a problem that we just don't have. We can't afford to pay a consultant at this point for $20 a week. We are needing.
But okay, but I guess I know you can't, but we're already paying them. So and you're doing things that, it sounds like you're doing things that we're having them do. Is that, am I not understanding it clearly?
So those efforts are coordinated, and you'll hear Willie report here in just a few minutes about specifically about what we're doing remotely on May.
Right.
I do agree. I do believe there could be a greater degree of cooperation, a greater degree of working together. So, but we have tried to coordinate those so that we're not doing that.
Okay. Okay.
It can be done better.
Okay.
It is almost 11:15, and I understand there's a meeting to occur this room at noon again. I'll be exiting. Sorry. All right. So, what it sounds like the pleasure of the board is to ask the city council, I guess, ask the staff to come up with a plan. We're going to forward our questions, comments, concerns to Cassidy, and she can work with whoever, Adrian, whoever you need to work with on city staff to make that happen. Do I understand that?
I think, and leading up to a joint meeting.
And I don't think we need a motion or anything else. Just
Well,
direction.
You know what, Ted, what I'd say, I don't think it's broken either. I think to what Ryan was saying, I guess my question is it's not broken, but is it time to change or evolve in some manner? I think that's really what the question for me is. And I don't know the answer.
The only thing I had just to wrap it up too is we've heard a lot about, I haven't heard anything from Lyerly about what they've provided in the past or would be providing going forward. So I'd like some forum to understand
So,
that.
We typically have a report from the library agency every other month. Leah was supposed to be here last month, didn't do that. She's gonna give a truncated, report that's really focused on Moonlight Revenues.
Okay.
But typically, we do every other meeting that we have, the library agency reports.
Okay.
Any other comments on this matter?
I don't know.
Leah?
And just for the record, we did coordinate with Phil a great deal, you know, to know what's going on. Phil and I have worked together at least once a month, so we tend to stay on top of that. And we have coordinated with them on our Moonlight on Main, promotions and what the city's doing, and what we're doing, and what the county's doing, so that there's not duplication in that. So you have, your agenda, in front of you, and to respect time, we're gonna really abbreviate, but the most important things are on page 1 on Moonlight on Main. So, we have written a press release for Moonlight on Main, and that is on the page under the agenda for you to look at and review. Phil has been on vacation for the last week. I think he's back today, and we definitely want him to look at this for accuracy, to make sure that everything in the statement is accurate. But we would also like for you to look at it, give an input, on it, as far as content and things like that. So if you wanna take just a minute to look at it, that would be good.
The only thing I saw was, these events are all in the evening, is that correct?
There are daytime events too.
There are, okay, but the Moonlight on Main part is at night, right? Because it's glowing, okay. So the only thing I would say is that, like, in a copy, I love the brings a warm glow to, I would say chilly nights instead of days, just because I feel like it's more of a night.
Okay.
That's just a suggestion. But I love the words that you guys use, just like how you incorporated a lot of the, like, warm and moon, and it's really, yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Not my straight thoughts.
Does it make you wanna do
I
it?
have proofreader for myself.
And the rat cards, if you guys prepare those, will we see those and to approve before printing?
Well, can we wait?
Oh, till you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the press release, if you see it, and, one of the great things about Moonlight on Main is they have great art and photos to send, so this is very dark, it's not like this dark, but this will be because the event will be in Stowe Park, this is gonna be the illustration that we're gonna be using. It's not exactly Stowe Park, but it's supposed to stay that they have.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we just kind of captures it,
Yeah.
because I hope people are bringing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really good. So this is gonna be what we're pushing out.
And that's helpful because this whole time it's been difficult, until I saw pictures, it's been difficult for me to understand really what Moonlight on Main is. So I think that's going to be huge to draw
Yes.
people there, because it's just hard to understand when you hear a 20 whatever foot.
Yeah, like I said, but, anyway, so, and then we're also gonna be doing, advertising and Visit North Carolina on their website, so it's a big form to fill out, but these are 2 paragraphs of copy that we're gonna have on that website, so anyone who's looking at Visit North Carolina will see this. And, Axios, this used to be Charlotte Agenda, it was purchased about a year ago, and this is the copy that we plan on using there, so just take a minute and read these, and we're not gonna be in the proceeding to get.
Thanks.
What's this thing in the background? There?
Yeah, it's somewhere
I
else.
should replace it with our water tower. No,
Little Photoshop one.
That's a good idea. See, you know.
Are there any comments on that, on the italicized document?
Sounds good.
And like I said, we will run it by Phil for accuracy.
So when I'm looking for things to do, I type in things to do near me.
Uh-huh.
How would I see this if I click that? Like, I've never been to a visit in North Carolina, ever.
Oh,
So I just type in things to do near me, and it gives me a list of things to do near me. So how do we get there?
well, I'm hoping that you would want to do what you get the Visit Belmont NC website would come up. And, you know, and we're gonna do a splash page for this event on there. And, you know, give basic information, then refer it to me by all name, because all this, nitty gritty is there, so that you'll use it on reconstructing it.
There are a lot of
I don't know if that's a good
manual
I can't
entry.
call it- I have no idea.
Well, there's a lot of manual entry calendars too that you can go in. So
Oh, yeah.
so a lot of those things pop up. They themselves, their SEO is the best. So that's just a for-profit website that's compiling all this information. So they're
And
grabbing it from somewhere, or it's being submitted to them.
And
I
Visit
don't care
NC
how we
may
get
come
there.
up
We
too.
need to be there.
Yeah.
So when somebody's sitting in Charlotte in November 5th and they're like, things to do, and it pops up.
CharlotteEvents.com. Like there's a lot of, and a lot of that is just
However we
manual.
get there, that's
It's
what I think their goal
just
should be.
tricking Google into,
Yeah, it helps a lot also to be on Axios.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Oh, yeah, I read Axios.
Yeah, both of these,
Yep.
we do a lot of calendars to entering that information locally, and then the Visit NC, that will help too, because that's an electronic listing of events.
and we'll have a event on Facebook too, right?
We pulled all of the Light on Main events into our Facebook,
Uh-huh.
so just kind of shared them.
But like created an event as Facebook.
Yeah, DVDA has been
This-
great about creating a ton of event
Okay, okay.
pages for all of the different activities that are happening, and we
Okay.
shared them over to the Visit Belmont.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because that's another way I'd find things to do too.
Yeah, I think we work well in linking.
Yeah,
you know, back
yeah,
and
yeah,
forth
yeah.
with
That makes
things,
sense.
so. Okay, and then what you asked about with rack cards, actually, rack cards are not on our charge with this contract, but we really think it's important. And we will donate our time to prepare the rack cards if this, authority will approve the printing. So, the printing is $320, and, then we distribute them in downtown, the garden takes some, and the business center takes some too. So the rack cards are really a great way to promote. I've heard several of the shop owners going, we need stuff that we can hand people.
Do we put them at welcome centers or anything, like on the interstate?
Yeah, we put it at Gaston County Tourism right here, but not anywhere else. There's a fee to do some of that.
The welcome centers.
Write a letter and get it approved and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the welcome centers, I don't know. When I worked at the library, we had really great, we sent them out to everywhere, and we got a lot of, some traction from that, but
And please remember to bring them to the hotel.
You will take it?
Sure.
I just put them in restaurants and coffee shops.
Mhm.
Sure.
How many,
Have
ra-
everybody stick them in the thing with the user check.
yeah.
Absolutely.
how many red cards are you looking at having printed?
2,500.
Oof, I don't know if that's enough.
What
Is there-
size, what size are they?
4x9.
4x9,
Just like
okay.
a standard red card.
I'm good with it. I think I like that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We might need more. I feel like, I don't know.
$500 probably each 5,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, can't imagine the price goes up.
no.
So just motion to spend that.
Can we add in that, we also, for the holidays, we'd love to do records
Yeah.
for the holidays too. And we will, give our time for that, if you pay for the
Do we have-
printing on that too.
I don't know if we have much. So you're just talking about being able to do it when we do that. Which is good. Yeah.
No, you make a motion.
I'll
to
make a
spend
motion to,
$5,000.
yes, for sure. $1,000 for between the two, yeah.
Motion, anybody will second that?
I'll second.
Susan will second.
Richard.
Any discussion, all in favor? Aye.
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 And we'll be able to approve the art and stuff before printing? Okay,
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we'll need to, figure out a plan for how that's gonna be approved.
okay.
We'll get on that.
I was gonna say, with the moonlit, we need to be on that today.
Yeah,
We're 1 month out.
And I know you've got a lot to still got a few things to cover, so, social media, the trivia contest is still going strong. So, maybe have a surprise me gift card, June, the lodge, and, July and August will be the bottle tree. So it's really interesting to see the reach and engagement. The lodge is hot. So, and then you can also see on here calendars and, website updates that we've done and then social media. So I won't go over that with all of you now.
Is there any paid social behind the Moonlight?
Is there what?
Any paid social behind the Moonlight event that we're doing? There is.
There is.
Mhm.
There is.
There's a lot of money behind the Moonlight.
Is that from us? Are we funding that, or who's?
Private donors.
We do have, now that the website and everything has gotten leveled out, we're doing search engine marketing. It's a small budget, but we're gonna be focusing a lot of that on the line on main now. And, then Axios and, is real strong social media. And we're also doing, Charlotte 5. Are you familiar with Charlotte 5? Okay, so we're doing Charlotte 5, and that copy is still being written, and we will need approval of that in about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, so I'd like to see promoted posts on social though.
Sponsor pass, they're doing that.
You are doing this, okay.
I don't think we
I
do
did
much.
sponsor every day.
Okay, it's so, this one's so visual, you know, the giant moon, like that'll grab people.
Shoot, billboard on 85. Can we get it at the Far Yards? Still?
When you do their contact, they do.
Well, I think the family is a sponsor.
Far Yards, we can get it free.
Oh, then
Yeah,
yeah. I
Christy.
mean,
Yeah, Chrissy's
Yeah.
still there. But, when I talked to Bill about sponsoring, he said the family was going to sponsor something for Moonlight on the Main because we had talked about it for the hotels.
Well, we just worked before she left.
Yeah, Christy Glidden would be the only thing with that, 'cause there's a lot of people, they get 2 spots that they don't have to pay for, and we have to share it across the Y, the hotels, Gaston Day School. So we have it. So, you know, but I would absolutely reach out to her if they can put it on for a short time. They certainly would.
Surfing's still open, billboard?
Absolutely.
If you need any help, let me know with that.
That's an easy one, all black with a giant moon
That'd be
in the
awesome.
dates. Like that'll glow,
Yeah.
especially
And
at
it's
night.
digital, so
That's
Yeah,
it, that's what,
really
yeah,
it's so
that's
good.
why you keep it black with the moon on.
I mean, you got how many thousands of people riding past that every day?
Lots. Do you have Christy's contact information? I'll send it to you when I get back to the office.
Okay, any questions? I know it's brief for the rest of the report, but let me know if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
It's your fantasy update.
Back to you, that's good.
So I don't have to interrupt. I got ahead with the child.
Can we, just so you know, I'm resigning.
Yeah.
I've resigned my position. And we're relocating, so I am resigning as chair and then my position on the board. Do you have a desire to serve as chair?
I do not. My time on this board will be expiring in about 2 months as well. So
Okay.
catch up.
I'll do that another day.
Jim was a very hardworking one who made this whole thing run, so he's been our full-time employee. So keep that in mind as we're moving
I
forward.
don't even do 17 hours a month, so. So we have had some conversations with several of the board members about, we still got a forum, so we can still do this. We don't really have, our bylaws don't really state how we select a chair and a vice chair. So we can do whatever the pleasure of the board is, in terms of replacing me as chair. So is anybody interested in the position of chair or vice chair? And I've spoken to some people, and they'll see if they speak up themselves.
Do you have any interest?
Well, Jim, since you and I are the 2 oldest, it's not rats in the barn, but cats in the barn on this board. I am serving as vice chair at this point, a job that Jim has made incredibly easy. Jim, I just got to say a word on your behalf for, I'm not sure exactly how many years, Jim, 10 or 12 years
I
that
came on this
you,
board after you did. I think you've been on for the
well,
entire duration.
maybe a month. Lynn Pepper, Charlie Martin, Martha Stowe, and I were the first 4 members of this board, and I think that was, gosh, 2008. Soon after that, Carolyn Barnes and Jim Hoffman. Carolyn Barnes, then the general manager of Hampton Inn, and Jim, of course, marketing director, I believe at the time, at the Botanical Garden, joined the board. And since that time, this board has relied really heavily on Jim because he came with a wealth of marketing experience and web marketing experience and knowledge, and you've contributed that, Jim, day in and day out for all these years, and I can't thank you enough for what you have brought to this position and the knowledge that you shared with us, educated all of us somewhat, me still just a little bit, in web marketing and digital marketing, and you're going to be deeply, deeply missed. I am relieved to see that we've got some other folks with good marketing experience as well coming on the board. And I say all of that to thank you, Jim, and also to say I really never had any desire to be the board chair of this organization. But having served now for this many years and having served for a couple of 3 years now as vice chair, I would not step away from what I feel like would be the responsibility if it was the desire of the board for me to lead the board in the
Done.
interim. But on the other hand, I don't know that we necessarily need to have an election for a new chair, because if you leave, then I'm filling in for you for ever how many more years. I'll be happy to do that either way. I would serve this board in any way that I could, because I've enjoyed it. I've loved it. I think we've done good work, and there's still work to be done. I'm heartbroken that Jim is going to be leaving us, but I think it just means that all of us will have to, pull up our pants and get in there and go to work a little bit harder to make up for that big void that's going to be there. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Everybody's leaving. I just started. I said I just started and everybody's leaving.
So we are losing you. We're losing you as well. Is that right?
No. Unless you need me to.
No, who are we losing?
I just started.
Well,
Losing,
We lost Ashley Dalton, Kim Bakura.
okay.
No, because Ashley had left, and then Kim was taking her spot within a month, and Kim has resigned.
And then Brandon.
Brandon Keller is the new GM at the Hampton, and so he's been suggested. I do. I'll send that to you as well.
Now, he has been on this board before. I think he's actually chaired this board, hasn't he?
He has worked at the Hampton before, so that is a possibility.
Yeah, Brandon's been on this board. So we have 2 folks we have to replace.
We did, so it sounds like Ted is interested in being chair, would accept that position, but has some apprehension about his knowledge of marketing and would like somebody with some marketing experience to kind of assist him in that endeavor.
It would be absolutely required.
So it seems that like if we had somebody with marketing experience, that person might be the vice chair.
I would be interested as vice chair working with Ted, because I feel like Ted is really great at all the things that I don't know anything about. And I've loved serving on this board, and I've loved Belmont, and love the future that I see in Belmont, all the fun things and just the growth. And I love marketing, and it's my background and it's what I'm passionate about. So it would be an honor to serve in that way.
I'm fine with that. If you need a motion,
So, yeah, we would need a motion and a second to,
I'll second it.
you made a motion.
I'll make the motion for Ted as chair
I'll
and
second.
You second the motion. Any discussion?
Melanie as vice chair.
I want to get this done really quick. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Right. Right. Yeah, we are nominating Ted and
Mhm.
Melanie.
Mhm.
So I'm still chair. I have to conclude this meeting. You had- Yeah, that's fine.
I received a request from Julie yesterday. Making a small amendment to the Christmas parade this year. And so if under other business, we have just share that with you guys.
That's great. It's 11:35.
Okay, I'll be very fast. Typically, the Mont Falls Chamber administrates the City of Belmont's Christmas parade. That is every year for 71 years, almost 72 now. The first Tuesday in December, this year will be Tuesday, November the 30th. The tree lighting will be Monday, November the 29th. There have been lots of comments amongst city employees, downtown businesses, and police officials that we try to move that parade to an evening or weekend. Our professional float company that we use is not able to give us a weekend slot unless we want to take the first weekend in November for a Christmas parade, which is not really my ideal. Our compromise to not throw a complete loop for everyone would be to continue to host it on that Tuesday, but move it to an evening. That would assist school traffic, getting home from work traffic, and our downtown businesses to not have to close down during the parade time. Lots of people are excited about that, as you can assume that some people do not like change. I will do whatever people need me to do to the best of our ability. The problem is the floats go up an additional $300 per float. I don't know that I have 24 companies, but we sell floats anywhere from 24 to 25, 26 floats at $545 a piece. That would go up to $800. So, or $845. A suggestion was made in some discussion that I contacted the Travel and Tourism Board and see if there was a grant possibility or funding possibility to offset the cost if we wanted to.
Julie, so it's more expensive just because it's later in the day? Is that more expensive because it's later in the day?
The lights. So
The light.
the float company would have to purchase the lights and decorate the float.
Okay.
The lights. So that's the additional.
Thank you.
cost.
Mhm.
It would probably be cheaper if I bought the lights and did it myself, but they don't allow us to do that.
Mhm.
So, one of the advantages is there's not a town locally that we know of that do an evening lit Christmas parade, and Belmont does have the best of all things. I feel like so it would kind of elevate the parade, to another level. The city lights up the main street and then down towards the river district some. A lot of Hofstra would be willing to light their fencing along the Catawba there, that would help with that. And then Alan Buchanan with the police department says that he can locate some of their the generator lights to light some of the darker areas. There will always be concern about safety for children getting in on and off the floats. That's something that you guys don't have to deal with. That's what myself and the city would deal with. But before I take it to city council to vote, yes, they can move this, then I need to know if there's any possibility for funding.
How much are we talking? 24, how many floats?
If 24 floats would be an additional $7,200, and 26 floats would be an additional $7,800.
How much you asking? What are you asking for? That entire amount?
$7,200.
My thought process is always ask for the most, and then you will tell me what you can do. So, that's what I would say, but then, if it's less than that, then I'm, and
and maybe we can sell some of those floats at 800. But I don't want to put a whole lot of manpower hours in that and not be able to get to that. And then have that. So time is of the essence.
I think again, it's hard when we don't know the numbers we're even talking about.
I mean, I only have two questions. I mean, does this qualify as an event that brings people to Belmont, or is this more a highly localized event? Also, I think I would go to council and find out, because what you're looking at is a lot of overtime, because you've got the parks, you got street maintenance, who'll have to do the barriers and clean the streets, and police. I mean, I'm sure it's okay in the budget, but I mean, I'm still, those are different factors where costs are gonna rise. I mean, I like the idea conceptually, but there are some considerations, I think.
Right. I agree with that. And I have reached out to Adrian and Kevin and Phil in emails, and their initial response was to come here, first to check about funding before I went to city council, which would be my next stop, if we could even do that. And it may not be feasible for this year. It may be something that we can work on for next year and we keep status quo for this year. So. No.
Well, knowing a little bit about what Julie's facing, September is the month that you have to sign the contract for the parade floats, right?
That is correct. There's probably should have been signed the last week.
What, as far as our budget goes, I mean, do we have any extra?
Well, the budget was
I mean, I know we don't-
75,000, that's 10% of our budget.
Huh?
I think the approved budget was 75, so that's 10% of the
Yeah,
approved
if we
budget.
That's what I'm saying, and we might be well over that 75, but we don't know.
Do you think it would be something that would be requested every year?
I would hope not. My goal would be to make this, if we're gonna move this to an evening, then it would be a bigger, brighter, better, larger event that people have already seen and would be, maybe even expand what we offer to kind of work with the Main Street program and have, like we do on the tree lighting, coincide that with the lighting of the Festival of the Trees, possibly do, some type of mini Christmas village type situation. We are on the list to be the first town to get a Friday evening or a Saturday or Sunday if another town cancels their parade. So I have negotiated that with Lions, because they want me to start calling at me. But, so my goal would be to hopefully move that to a weekend. I feel like, that would be the best thing for our businesses. And now that so many people, I mean, in 2019, we had 154 entries for the parade. So we have the largest in Gaston County as well as the best. So, we did a great job with the cruise through Christmas during the shutdown for COVID last year. We had a great response on that. So, we're kind of in the middle of changing everything, but I'm kind of on the fence. If I'm not like Ted says, and he's aware of what we're doing, I'm the essence, but I just need to.
So if you don't get the money, would you just scale back the number of floats?
If we could even have professional floats, yes.
Oh.
So it would be at that point, I feel like the majority of people would enjoy an evening parade,
Mm-hmm.
and an evening float. We have real estate companies, dentist office, pediatric facilities, orthodontics, dance groups and things like that. So all of those people have to either close their offices or get their kids out of school.
Mm-hmm.
So an evening would be,
Mm-hmm.
beneficial to parents. And I do have lots of comments where people are, I wish you would do this later so that I can watch my kid in the parade. I can't get off work. So it is, it is a community for the best. Gaston County Schools does not like to let their kids out of school for us on, for Belmont schools on that day. So, and that may be winding down. They did not enjoy that this past year for COVID at all. So, eventually we're going to have to go that route.
Oh, I love the idea because I've never actually gotten to see the parade. Yeah.
Well, they're great.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
Belmont is one of very few that actually do it on a weekend. And Mooresville does, which is where I live, but they do it week 2
And I feel like the consensus now for the most people would be better for a weekend. Tradition was the Tuesday, and I never want to be the one to change it 72 years of tradition, but with growth comes great experience and regulations. So, just from a staff perspective, across departments, police departments, always have been especially police, traffic and security.
It's the board's pleasure. Comments?
I think what Richard said is it falls in the mission. Does it fall into something we should be spending that money on? Needs to be just considered as well. Just we can't, and I mean this with all due respect, we can't just because this board makes money or is set to make good money for the new hotel, that everybody comes to us for where the budget falls short for that money. And I mean that with all due respect, but that's just an outside, like, that's my, that I think it needs to make sure it falls in all the line as well.
Simple question is do you see any hotel rooms because of the Belmont parade? Probably not.
Probably not, but I do hope for Moonlight on Main, but probably not the parade, but I would hope that people that are staying at our hotel go and enjoy it. We would love, we'll tell all of our people that are staying there that, hey, there's a great parade tonight, but I'm not sure if they would come into town for that. That was the question.
But, I mean, would people come from a drive away and then spend money in our businesses and restaurants?
I brought my whole family here from Mooresville. We all drove down, spent a lot of money at the cotton candy factory.
So there's your answer for that.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a possibility. I mean, it may not get us heads and beds, but it could potentially boost some local.
I've always seen the parade as a tourism-related activity. It builds a buzz for Belmont. That it does bring people to eat in the restaurants and shop in the shops. Probably not to spend a lot of nights in the hotel. I think it's tourism-related.
I do
And
too.
we are allowed to spend a percentage of our budget for tourism-related opportunities. Question I have is, do we have any money? I know we don't have any money budgeted for it, but we do have a fund balance. Right, Jim? Do you know what our fund balance is?
20.
It was 22 prior to the end of this year.
22?
There may be some additional.
Oh, God.
That's gone down considerably.
Yeah, we spent money on, at the front, the trolley, spent $20,000 out of the
Yeah,
fund balance for the
okay.
trolley, and then we didn't make it up during COVID. And we had done something else, for $7,500 to somebody else. So we had 50 grand.
Yeah.
I do tell you, the Christmas Town lights in McAdenville are bringing in heads and beds. I've gotten several calls from church groups that are trying to get groups to come and stay.
That's where my thought was, is promoting something. When we got McAdenville, I think if people are
But I
going to
think-
travel. they're
But it
probably
also
coming to
can
McAdenville.
link that, there's just a lot of Christmas events in this area going on. So, I mean, we need to market it like Christmas Town. we need to market it is basically what I'm saying,
Yeah.
Let
As a whole package.
people know that there's a lot going on during Christmas. I mean, let's promote Belmont's Christmas parade outside of Belmont.
But just to clarify, this isn't promoting it. This is paying for some lights
True.
and floats.
Good point.
But that-
Right.
If they were coming to me,
Mhm.
yeah, but I'm just in my mind, if somebody was asking for $7,600 to go out and promote the parade, that's a different conversation than $7,600 to get lights on a float. And I just,
Right.
from my point of view, the promotion of tourism isn't necessarily.
And that's exactly what you should do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's up to us to decide.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I like it conceptually.
Mhm.
I don't, I've lived in Belmont for 30 years. Every town has a Christmas parade. I have not traveled to another town to see their parade. I mean, my kids are in this parade. I go to this parade. So, I mean, I don't know that people, I mean, if you're in Cherryville, you're gonna ride to Belmont to see their Christmas parade.
Maybe because it's a nighttime, it's different. Like maybe we capitalize on,
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the X
Mhm.
factor. It's new.
oh,
Doesn't sound like we're able to make a decision at this point.
I appreciate your time, consideration, let me pitch the idea. I send people to your hotel office as well.
thank you. And we appreciate
Part of
that.
the job is the chamber, we do that, so we've already had lots of calls for that, so.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, but thank you for your time, I appreciate that.
Any other business? Let me say thank you. I will value the friendships and relationships that I've developed from serving on this board for forever. So it's been a pleasure. Ted, again, thank you for your kind words. And, I'll still be around all month for another month, but probably won't make the next meeting. So hopefully the city council will approve your appointments and
We'll carry on.
you can carry on. I think, you know, in the 10, 12 years that I've been involved, we've made some tremendous strides. You know, Belmont's an amazing place. It just keeps getting better. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate, I've been on the board about 8 years. I mean, the one constant over the time frame has been you two. You've served as chair as long as I can remember. So, I mean, it is a big time commitment because you do have another full-time job. So, I mean, I know it's a lot of hours, but I mean, I appreciate the constant presence and leadership. You know.
And with that, we'll stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.